this Washington County Board of Education meeting to order under the continued provisions of the state executive order to protect the safety and welfare of the public. The Washington County Board of Education meeting today is closed to the public. In order to maintain transparency, the meeting is live streamed and the audio recording will be provided as requested. The live stream link can be found on the website www.wcde.org. Before I call the meeting to order, I'm going to take attendance. Annette Buchanan.
Present.
Mike Masters.
Here.
Chad Fleener.
Here.
Jason Day here. Mary Beth Ellinger.
Here.
Mitch Meredith.
Here.
David Hammond.
Here.
And Whitney Riddle.
Here. I'm
This
not
ti-
here.
Huh?
I'm not here.
You ain't here. You ain't on here.
There's it, 'cause he was
Keith
chairman.
Irvin.
Sorry. My bad.
Let's see. I'm gonna write him on here, so we'll have him. Okay. This called meeting, Washington County Board of Education, is called to order. After a moment of silence, I'm going to ask Mr. Riddle to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Dr. Flannery can go straight into business.
Yes, please.
Okay, at September 3rd meeting, the board passed a motion. Number one, created a 50-50 attendance plan to commence on September 21st, providing that half of each school's enrollment attend on Mondays and Tuesdays, with the other half attending on Thursdays and Fridays. Wednesdays would be set aside for full virtual instruction. Then we go into plan number two.
Yeah, go ahead and read all of it.
So it continues 50-50 attendance plan through the end of the week of September 28th. This allows for a return of full attendance on October 12th. Provides for a review of this plan to be called at a board meeting. I will now ask Director Flannery to present us with the current COVID-19 infection rates and other relevant data.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. If I call your attention to the screen in front of the room, that has actually been updated in the past hour. Earlier today, yesterday's data was 20 new COVID-19 cases at a rate of 15 plus new cases per 100,000 Tennesseans. That's actually more than doubled just in the past hour to 33.24. The northeast region, that's called the epi curve. There were 20 new cases yesterday and 43 new cases today. The northeast region, a 7-day average is 44 new cases. The 7-day average in Washington County as of today is 20.7 cases. So it did spike just a little bit over the past few days. And the all-important or 14-day average, and this is the one that your reopening plan is predicated on, this morning showed 16.12 cases per 100,000 Washington County residents over a 14-day period. In the last hour, that actually jumped to 17.23 when they averaged in today's infections. This one's a little bit tougher to see. This is a cumulative rate of Washington County residents aged 5 to 18, pretty much the students that go to school in Washington County. Now again, this isn't, you look at the last one, that's not 205 sick children today. That's how it's accumulated since they started keeping records back in June. And it has increased slightly almost every day since they've started keeping records, and just in the past few days crept up over 200 cases. So the people that contend that minors cannot contract COVID-19, or at least in Washington County, they're just wrong. Now this is the White House Task Force report, and every time we talk to the Regional Health Office, they talk about this. You can make out Washington County still in the yellow, which it was in the last, when we spoke 2 weeks ago, and you can see that Johnson County and Sullivan County are in the red. And to save my life, I don't understand the underlying data, but I can tell you that data is 2 weeks old. So what you get from the Tennessee Department of Health is today's data. What you get from the White House is 2 weeks old. Now, Mr. Fleener asked that I pull this together, and I was glad to do it. This shows area school systems and whether or not they require masks for adults or encourage it, and whether or not they require masks for students or just encourage it. And I'll give you a minute to look that over. Now, unless there's an exception, I'll move to the next one. Our curriculum supervisors polled or sent out a parent survey, and they had 2,295 respondents. We're wanting to see when we open back up how many is going to come back. Had a 28% response rate, which is pretty good. I'm not sure how valid it is, because if you don't have the internet, you're not going to respond to this, although I guess they could use a smartphone. But anyway, 28% rate of return is pretty valid. 482 of those report they will not return to school on September the 21st. If you extrapolate that into 8,200 students, out of 8,200 students, that means almost 2,300 students will not return to school if we open as planned on a staggered schedule on the 21st. And about a third of those students said that they would return or prefer to return to school after fall break. And that's a really hard number to get hold of. We were thinking at one time around 20%, and then as recently as 2 weeks ago, we thought it would be under 10%, and now it's pushing 30%. So folks, about the only way we'll actually know how many people are going to stay home and stay virtual is just to go staggered and see who doesn't show up. So I've given you numbers all over the ballpark, and that's just the numbers that we've been getting. So that the schools have been calling, and we've been going online, and it's anywhere from 5% to as much as you see 28%. That's what we've got. And Mr. Chairman, that's the data that I have for you this time.
Okay. So, Dr. Flannery, there's a few other things we wanted to discuss. Should we finalize this? Is there any action needed, or shall I entertain a motion to amend it or change the motion that we currently have, or should we discuss anything anybody else has?
I have nothing else to discuss. But,
Okay.
you look at the agenda, and it's for the reopening plan. So all I would say is that you just stick to the reopening plan. Other than that, it's up to you.
So do we need a motion to do that?
Or
since it's already
no motion at all. If there is no motion, you can adjourn.
Okay. Yes, Ms.
I
Young.
like the staggered plan that we decided, but I would like to wait until October 1st to decide what to do after fall break. I mean, we can say now that we want to come back full. I would love that. But I think October 1st is when we need to make that decision, depending on the numbers. I mean, we can keep that plan, but some things, when we meet again October 1st, that might need to be looked at. I don't know.
Anybody else?
Well, don't want to hear my opinion, but I'm ready to go back. Let's go back on 100% on the 21st. Because the longer we wait, the closer the flu season's going to come. And then we're gonna be right back in the same boat as we are. So, folks, I feel like we need to get these kids back in school. I mean, I was on the verge of making a motion tonight to start them on Thursday. 100%, but I'll wait till the 21st. A week from today. Start them on Monday. And let's go with it. Let's see what happens. Let's get them back in the classroom.
Yes, Mr. Master.
I kind of agree with Keith. What people I've talked to, parents, administrators, teachers, I kind of like the 50%, but what I've been told is they can't social distance at 50, so why not bring 100? I mean, that's kind of my thought, and, again, I just want to throw that out.
Well, I'm gonna put it in the form of a motion.
And I'll second that discussion.
I still think they need a transition from going virtual to full open. I think that gives them a transition.
We're gonna
Wait a
have,
minute, hold on a second. So
Okay.
state your motion, please.
my motion is to start school September 21st at 100%.
Mr. Master, second. All right.
I still think they need a time to transition from virtual to full open. And I think this staggered plan gives them that, and it's only 9 days. It gets students in there and it lets them see what procedures and what things are gonna occur at a smaller scale instead of having everybody in there. I'm thinking of a lower elementary standpoint. They're gonna have to know their procedures and what needs to be done. And I just think they need the staggered for just 2 weeks.
Well, the way I look at it, I look at September 21st being the first day of school.
The only
Ain't
thing,
no difference in first day of school if it was August the 3rd to September the 21st.
the only thing about it is, all these teachers, faculty, principals, everybody we told them we was gonna go staggered the 21st just a week ago. I hate to turn right around and change our plan a week later. That's the only negative thing for me on that.
That's why we're giving them a week to get ready. That's the way I feel about it.
Mr. Fleener.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I think my opinion is we need to stick with what we decided last Thursday for the simple reason of, I know it's a new start, but school's gonna look different. I mean, I don't even know what, I think we got off on a rabbit trail last meeting, talking about what school's gonna look like, and I don't think even all the answers are not 100% there. And, it's gonna be an adjustment for our teachers, our staffs, our students, our parents. I mean, that's the reason I like the 50-50 for 2 weeks. I know it's not convenient for anybody, but I do think we'll slowly get in the motion of what it's gonna look like, and really and truly, it'll give maybe some lower numbers. I know I talked to a couple of teachers outside of our county that are doing the staggered schedule like that, and they felt like it really helped them gain a relationship with those students because there wasn't as many in there. Now, these were older kids. It was older school teacher I was talking to with older kids, but I think that's important. I mean, there's some relationships that I have never built other than on a computer screen. And if you send just a few back, 50%, I think they'll get that back. I mean, I agree, Keith. I don't know what's going to happen in a month or 2 weeks from now or whatever, but everybody's said it before, we're in uncharted territory too.
Well, the thing that scares me is my high school seniors, juniors, and seniors. Boys, I don't know how, down my way, they're talking, I'm done, we'll go to Asbury and get a GED, and we're gonna go to work. So, that's just, that bothers me.
Mr. Hammond.
I don't like the staggered at all, but I see the point behind it, especially with the younger grades. What about returning to high school at full, full capacity and let the elementary schools do the staggered? Is that possible? Is that feasible?
Sure.
With the mask requirement?
With a mask requirement, as long as the county mayor is requesting a mask be worn in, I've got my,
Well, now-
took a drink of water. Yeah, I think we should require the students to wear a mask as well.
Do we need to make a motion for that?
Well, we got a motion in a
Different- I know,
second. We need
I
to,
know.
we need to roll call vote, I suppose.
One more question. Dr. Flannery, can you tell us, or someone, with a teacher, if at 50%, will they have to teach the class twice, or how will that work, or do you know?
I'm thinking back to when I was a classroom teacher, and it would be like being in two different schools. It sure would. It would be very, very difficult. And I'm talking to the other superintendents in the area that have done this and are in the third week of it, and they tell me the first 2, 3, 4 days are awful. But then the teachers start to figure it out, they hit their stride, and it's, by the second week, it's not that bad. So, but the first little bit, it'll be terrible.
At 50% or
At
staggered?
or 25, 50, anything other than full enrollment, it's going to be tough.
Mr. Meredith.
Call for the question, please.
Okay, question's been called. No other discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
No.
Mr. Irvin?
Yes.
Ms. Buchanan?
No.
Ms. Dellinger?
No.
Mr. Fleener?
Oh, man.
Mr. Hammond?
No.
Mr. Meredith?
No.
Mr. Day?
No.
Fails.
Now, that puts us back to our original motion,
No, you don't have a motion.
so, or our original plan.
Yes, yes.
So if no other objections, that's,
Just stay.
that stands.
I'd like to make, or discuss requiring the masks like all the other systems are doing. Do I need to make a motion?
I think we do because our plan did not allow
Okay,
that.
I make a motion that we require masks for students. And I'm hoping that it's kind of treated like a dress code, like a warning, and then, maybe, I don't know, I know Dr. Flannery can work that out for us, but we do need to do that. All the other systems did, except maybe a few. That would kind of, I know a lot of the employees are wanting this. And if we're gonna come back, we have to follow these guidelines, so I make that motion.
I'll second that, but I'd like to,
Okay,
I like that, but I also think too, that we have to have a period of time every day for the kids to get outside or get somewhere to where they don't have to have a mask on. I think, I don't wanna see school treated pretty, and they have to have those masks on for eight hours a day in class. I mean, is there something we can have to where, gym period or whatever, that we can, make it to where they don't have to wear a mask? I know they can't wear them in the lunchroom, but is there a way that we can make sure that they have a period or some sort of?
They call them breathing breaks. They'll go outside, just do anything, take 5 minutes during each period, go outside and just breathe without a mask. Cool off. About every school's doing that around us.
And we'll do that too, correct?
Oh, yeah. And we'll give the teachers the latitude to build it into a regular class period or whenever elementary want to do it. That was always the plan anyway, is to, give these teachers enough flexibility to where they can let these kids do for a few minutes every so often without things.
So
yes, sir.
what are you gonna do when little Johnny wants to trade his Spider-Man mask for Phillips Hot Wheels mask? You gonna let that happen too?
Well, that's how we spread head lice for the past 100 years, and I guess that's how we'll spread the flu and
We'll
stomach
spread the
bug now.
flu and
Yeah.
everything else, that's.
Yeah, we hadn't beat head lice yet, so I don't.
Anybody else, Mr. Hammond?
Just curious, how much would it cost to supply the mask for the kids?
Nothing. We've got enough masks to give everybody in this system 10.
And that way keep them all,
That would be good, right?
Yeah.
you know, just a thought.
Well, they've run out of places, Mr. Hammond, to store the things up at the warehouse. The state has given us so many.
That may be the option to go with,
Right.
to prevent that from happening.
That we supply the masks for those that don't have them. Right.
Ellie, would you like to speak to that, the availability of masks?
Yes, with TEMA, they're sending masks to us. We've already have enough in the schools for all the students and all the staff to have multiple masks. So if anyone should come in, we would have a mask available. We still have several boxes stored at Midway. So and each month we're placing orders. So having the masks should not be an issue. We also have enough face shields for everyone in the system to have a face shield should they need it. And we're working on getting masks that have the plastic to help the teachers with their articulation.
Oh, good. That's great.
Well, I want y'all to think about, I mean, I hope we don't mandate a welding teacher and a welding kid that's in taking welding, that he's got a hood over his face and he's gonna have a mask over his face too.
I think
You know,
OSHA takes
just a
care of
little,
that.
well, I mean, he ain't got his mask on. And he's gonna be standing out there and he's gonna raise that hood up, we ain't got his mask on. So, you need to think about stuff like that. You're gonna stand here and mandate them have it on.
Mr. Masters?
Dr. Planner, what would be the repercussion for students that are caught without one?
The only thing I can think of is that we treat it like a dress code violation. And then I would hope you'd build into the motion that if they're medically unable to wear it, they wouldn't have to.
Yes.
You know, at some point, if they just
Well-
absolutely refuse and they have no reason to refuse, we'd have to put them aside.
But I guess, I should have clarified that. Well, I'm thinking more of the K-8s.
There's a certain age we're not supposed to mandate it anyway, and I can't bring it to mind. Kelly, can you? Huh? Oh, well, we don't have a 2-year-old. I thought there was something for early grades, like pre-K and K.
So there's, and also like 5 and below, if they're not able to keep it on, if they're taking it off, handing it around.
What about if a parent
At the
sends
growth
a,
stage.
what about if a parent sends a letter and says, if my son don't wanna wear a mask, he don't have to, or my daughter?
I don't guess he'll go to school.
I guess he can go
Right.
virtual.
If the board mandates it, the parent can't overrule it. Unless there's a medical reason.
Unless there is a medical reason.
Right, you can't get around it. If a pediatrician says that Junior can't wear a mask, that's it.
Anybody else? Mr. Riddle?
I'd just like to say there's hundreds of reasons to send them and hundreds not to. We just need to all kind of stick together and get these kids back in school. And if it takes putting a mask on them to get them there, and I know these parents
I'm sorry.
want these children there, we all want them there. If that's what it takes to get them there, that's what we do, I think. And that makes it safer for the teachers, who are, a little more older population. I don't like to wear a mask, but if that's what it takes to get it done, I think that's what we need to do.
Okay. Mr. Flainer?
Well, Mary Beth, or I'd like to make an amendment to that if you want to amend the original motion to allow medical restrictions.
Oh, I like that, yes, that's fine.
So you'll amend your motion to allow.
Do you need to do?
I think you need to make the
Okay.
amendment.
Do you need to do
Yeah.
that, Dr. Planner?
He can amend it and just get a second handling that as amendment.
I'll make an amendment to that motion that we allow a waiver for any child with a medical condition that can't wear a mask to be able to do so.
Can we get a second?
Go ahead.
I'll second it. Mr. Hammond?
Could we add if there's anxiety? Yeah, I mean, I've had parents contact me, there might.
That'd be medical, wouldn't it?
If it's clinically diagnosed anxiety, absolutely, we would mandate it. Or offer them a shield or something.
And hopefully this is for a short time.
Right, hopefully.
I mean,
Well,
We just gotta get them back in the saddle.
somehow.
That's what we gotta do. It's give us a chance to see how things work. We've got a little time at 50-50, which nobody wants to go 50-50, but people do wanna go back. So that gives you a chance to adjust and see, because it's not the same as it has been. It's a new normal for everybody. And that gives us a period to adjust for a couple of weeks and then go from there, you know.
All right, so we got a motion, a second, and an amended motion.
To amend the original motion by adding the medical exemption.
Okay. So we need to repeat that for everybody?
Always a good idea.
Is that it?
His amendment, because that's what you're voting on right now.
Will you repeat the chat, Ms. Fleener?
Yeah, just to amend the original motion that we allow a child to be exempt from wearing a mask if he has a medical waiver from his position,
Or hers?
or her position, excuse me.
All right. So roll call vote?
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
no.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Carries.
All right.
Now the motion as amended.
The motion as amended. So we need to repeat her motion. Which was?
That we require masks except, well, the original one was just to require masks.
Okay.
For students.
For
For all,
students.
yes, I'm
All
sorry,
students.
for all students.
All right. Now roll call vote?
Mr. Masters?
No.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
No.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Mostly no, ma'am.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
And Mr. Day?
Yes.
Carries.
Okay. Okay, anything else, Ms.
Yes, I
Dillon?
have something else. I have been contacted by several families, and as we transition with our students back into school, I've had some families who are involved in cross-country, robotics, etc., and other curricular activities that wish to remain on virtual learning. This gives students more options, and this is actually the plan that other surrounding systems have. So I'd like to make a motion that all students selecting the virtual remote learning option be allowed to participate in athletics and extracurricular activities for which they are eligible. But when participating on campus, all students will be required to comply with school safety protocols.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Yes, sir.
Can somebody, I mean, I wasn't here, we're not doing that now, I guess is my question. I mean,
No.
is that why? I mean, I don't.
I can address that, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, if I may.
Yes,
The feeling is that if a child is too medically fragile, if a child has some underlying reason that they cannot come to algebra class, then those same reasons would apply to go to volleyball practice as well. So if you can't come to school and go to class, then the same thing should apply for cheerleading or football or cross country. I mean, why would they choose full virtual other than for a safety reason, and then completely negate that entire thing for something that's even more dangerous, like participating in football? It just doesn't add up. So that's why that was put in place in the original plan.
The particular family that contacted me participates in cross-country, which is at Boone, and they do a very good job, she said, of social distancing and doing all of that. And they just wanted to know, they haven't even decided yet, but they just wanted to know that could be an option. And this particular parent had researched all of the area systems, and they do allow that. so I just thought that was something. I do understand, I get Dr. Flannery's, but I do think this gives their families more options. And I think some of the different people, I know a robotics person in robotics at Crockett was wanting to be able to stay on virtual, but still wanted to be able to be on the robotics team where they come in just a few at a time.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yeah.
So it's my understanding that the robotics one is connected to a scholarship because they have to be a part of that group for 3 years before they can get the John Deere scholarship. So that's my understanding from that one. There was another young lady that contacted me, and she lives with her grandmother, and her little brother is very sick. But this is also her way to college, is through this scholarship that she's gonna get for cross country. And she said they've been very careful. She doesn't go anywhere other than to cross country practice and home. That's it. And they don't touch each other, they don't breathe on each other. So I think we've already set a precedent with the fact the board decided to allow sports while we weren't in school. So I think we've already set a precedent, and we need to continue, and as long as we offer virtual, we need to offer that option. Once we do not offer virtual any longer, then that needs to be cut out.
Right.
Anybody else? Okay, so we got a motion, which is, we repeat it one more time.
All students selecting the virtual remote learning option may participate in athletics and extracurricular activities for which they are eligible.
Okay. The motion is second, roll call vote. Please, Jennifer.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
No.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
And Mr. Day?
Yes. Okay, anybody else? Anything else, Mr. Master?
I'd like to bring off the table on the bus driver situation that we tabled last meeting. I'd like to get that finalized since we are going back to school in a week.
Okay. How do we go about bringing back off the table?
You need a second.
We need a second. Got a motion to bring the bus driver conversation back up on the table, and got a second.
It's
Any-
non-debatable. You have to go to immediate vote.
Immediate vote.
Well, can
The
I do-
motion was, if I remember correctly, to pay the bus drivers.
No, the motion was to table the motion. Now you're making a motion to take it from the table.
Take it off the
Okay,
define.
then we'll go, okay.
First.
All right, so we can roll call vote that.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Aye.
Ms. Buchanan?
No.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes. Okay. Now we need
The
to,
original motion is now on the floor for discussion, and I don't remember what it is. So Jennifer, if you need to.
give us just a
And
second.
Chad made it.
I think I know what it is, but I don't want to say, let's make sure we get it right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I do hope we have more information than we had last time. That would seem to be part of the issue, so hopefully we're prepared to disseminate some information here.
Okay.
Yes or no, bitch?
We're past that part.
Do you remember when you did that during the meeting?
That was a short meeting, wasn't it? It was towards the
Under
end.
new business. It's under new business.
about letting the co-op with.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. It was towards the end, about 4 round table, I believe.
Around 10
To
o'clock.
hire people who had quit, wasn't that what it was?
Yeah.
No, there was 2 motions.
One
One
was-
we couldn't make,
One was to pay,
just pay them.
just to pay them, even if they didn't work.
Then the other one was to hire them back.
Another one was to hire them back. So which one did we just bring off the
The
table?
one that you tabled was just, yeah.
Pay them.
To pay him effective September 8th, which is passed. but not required to perform extra duties beyond driving a bus for the next 2 weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, since the date's passed, do you have to, the date that the motion was September 8th, or past September 8th, so how does that work in the
What was the
motion?
cutoff? Until it-
September 8th was when the motion was for.
But then it
2
would
weeks.
continue until the staggered schedule started on the 21st.
Yeah,
So a week,
So they will start back next Monday, right?
They would.
Except on Wednesday.
right.
that is so.
So we're at, what the motion was to pay them for last week and this week.
Yes.
And then they'll start back to work driving the week from today.
So I guess that's my question. We done missed the first week of the motion.
Well, they would already be paid for that week anyway, and they'll already be paid for this coming week as well, every one of them. And every bus driver on payroll has been paid no matter what anyway.
So
Our
is
kicker
there,
was they wouldn't have to perform extra duties those 2 weeks.
so is there a reason to take action?
Are they still having to do extra duties this week?
Yes,
We need to take action. That's
I
what
mean,
you
that's what
want.
we're saying. And do you have a number, Fred, Mr. Ray? What the bus drivers paid a week? Do you have a rough number what that is a week?
I can look it up, right now, everybody's been paid, but I can tell you, so whether, if I'm understanding this right, your notion is to have them not do extra work, but pay them anyway, is that what I'm understanding?
That's what the
So
motion
the cost
was.
wouldn't be any difference
Right.
regardless to my department, because we're paying them anyway.
We got some that are getting the extra bus salary on top of their normal job that aren't having to perform any duties. That's the reason why the bus drivers that are just bus drivers shouldn't be performing any other duties besides driving the bus. That's where this comes
Are
from.
you referring to some people that have a job with the school, system, like another job plus their
Yes,
bus
sir.
driver? So we do have some that have dual jobs.
Right.
So right now, everybody's getting paid, I guess, you're saying whether they're doing
Oh, yeah.
extra work or not. Some get paid
Hmm.
and they're doing extra work, some get paid that are not doing extra. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So from my department's perspective, it's all the same cost
So is
price
that,
now.
is that on
I
that,
don't,
is mine,
I don't have that
mine was
information
mine
as far
tabled
as
because of that?
who's got an additional job plus a bus driver job. I don't have that with me tonight. I can have it tomorrow, but I don't have it right now. I'm sorry about that. I didn't.
No, it's all right.
Does that change my amendment?
So I think basically we're just saying
With
pay
them
them
bringing that
and
off the
cut out the
table.
extra duties.
Well,
Will they not still?
hold on just a
Jason had an
second.
amendment to
No.
that amendment.
Yeah,
The
we're
original
trying to
motion is
investigate
now
the
on the
amendment
table
to
and
the
it's under
amendment of the motion.
Okay.
Because
To
he
make
made
sure
an
that-
amendment.
You
The
can change
amendment
one
went to
without
the
the
table
other.
with the original motion.
Okay. Did you hear that?
So mine was with the original motion?
Whatever was with the original motion is now on the table and is under discussion.
Okay, so my amendment to that original motion, which is on the table now as well, was if they didn't work, they didn't get paid, but they didn't lose their job. If they chose to work, they got paid. The benefits was a question, was it not?
Well, I think Mary Beth made the motion to allow them that did not want to work but still have the insurance. But then Mr. Hale said that if we done that, then the driver would have to come in each week and pay their portion of the
Portion.
I had
insurance.
that withdrawn.
And then I think you withdrew that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they
So
should
that
have
part's
to pay that
scratched.
themselves, no.
So in order to do what you're trying to accomplish, we gotta go back to the original motion, the amendment I made to the original motion.
Yes.
Did that, and that went to the table with the original motion at the previous meeting? At the
Everything
best
was
remember?
Everything was tabled, I guess.
But that was an amendment that had been seconded?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
then it's,
Yes.
you're discussing it.
So we need to make, so basically we're starting from scratch. With your are you good with your motion? And you're good with your second, the way it is? Mr. Meredith?
I want to be sure I understood Mr. Fleener correctly in that, or Mr. Hale. So we have employees who may be teachers or cafeteria workers or maintenance folks, that we're paying them for their normal salary, their normal jobs, and we've asked them to also drive a bus, which they don't drive, but they're getting paid
The supplement.
a supplement for not doing work that they're getting a supplement for.
That's
Is
right.
that correct?
That's what we was doing.
Yeah, you do have a certain number of employees that have two, in essence, two full-time jobs. So, like, for example, an instructional assistant, full-time, and then they also drive a bus for what you would
Recommendation
consider
second, or does it
full-time
go back to the
driving a bus.
original?
That's just
Back
one
to the
example.
But if they're not driving the bus, we're still paying them?
Right now, we are.
So why are we doing that?
Well, my motion was to not do that.
Well, yeah, okay, then
If
I'm
there's
for
an
it.
amendment, then that has to be voted on.
Well, we gotta
So we'll
we
still
gotta
vote on that
amend this
amendment
motion
first.
again if we're gonna do that.
My motions is for the full-time bus drivers, that's all they done. It's just paying for this week.
This week.
Yeah,
And
let them go get their bus,
No,
they're
but
gonna
then-
take the bus already.
What about
They
Wednesday?
are getting paid, though, is what I.
But they have to work 4 hours a day.
What are they gonna do next Wednesday?
No.
Huh?
Nothing.
Unless they deliver meals.
Okay.
So Mr. Hale, that's correct, the bus drivers, unless they work 4 hours a day, they're not getting paid.
Right now, everybody's getting paid. Every bus driver is getting paid whether they're doing any work or not right now. And that was at the order of the director whom you gave that authority to in a policy.
Okay.
I forget that policy number, but am I correct, Dr. Flannery, on that?
Yes, that happened early last spring when we shut down.
So,
Mr. Chairman, you have an amendment apparently that has been seconded that is on the floor and should be voted on before the original
I
motion.
think we voted.
okay,
I think we voted for your amendment.
we did. I think he's saying we need to vote on what we just did right now
Well,
before we talk about that.
If the amendment was voted on,
My
and
amendment was
passed-
voted on and passed.
so the motion as amended is on the floor and will come up to a vote.
So we don't need to change what I did. We're just bringing back up and adding his motion.
Well, there's no adding to it. It's his original motion as amended that is now up for a vote.
So it's basically pay the bus drivers for this week, except the ones that do not work.
Okay. Got it. Y'all understand that? Clear as mud?
Now, I need to understand, these about 90-odd bus drivers need to be contacted and told they don't have to come to work anymore. Is that the plan?
These 4 days left.
So we're just excusing them from work, and we need to contact them, they don't have to come anymore.
For these 4 days. The kicker is we're paying some that are doing it on their second job for the county and not doing anything, which we appreciate. We appreciate all the bus drivers, period. But the 20-some or whatever, maybe 45, I don't know if it's half or whatever, that are doing that for a second job, we're giving them the money, not saying, hey, here's 4 more hours of work. The bus drivers, those 45 or maybe 75, that's all they do is drive a bus, we're saying, hey, you gotta come in and work 4 hours. It makes, I mean, really and truly, I don't understand it. And I wished I'd understand it a little bit earlier, but I don't think you can fix it all, but that should be fixed. I mean, now the bus drivers from now, for 1 week, let them pay, we appreciate them. I mean, we need them.
We paid them in the spring, when we cut school out, we paid our bus drivers, just like our cafeteria workers and everything. So let's just keep doing that like we're doing till we start school back. I'm sorry, but we gotta have these bus drivers, and if we don't pay them, they're not gonna stay here.
Well, that ain't the question, that ain't the discussion.
Well, it is,
Well,
because
we
you all
are paying them. What he's saying is, we're making them work to get paid.
To work to get paid.
So they're getting paid, they're just having to work for it. Chad don't want them to have to work.
I don't want them to do anything outside of what they signed up for. They are bus drivers. That's what they hired them for. We didn't hire them for maintenance workers, didn't hire them for cafeteria workers. I mean, we hired them for bus drivers. If we don't use the bus drivers, and they're gonna be essential here soon, when we start back school.
Are they is delivering stuff to students part of driving a bus?
on some of them.
Not all of them do that though.
So we got some of them cutting the grass.
Painting,
Paving.
landscaping. I mean, we're asking them to do outside of what they've signed up for. But the kicker was, is we told them to resign or show up Monday. Is what I was told. I don't know that for a fact, I never was told that myself, but I know that that's what a lot of them are alluding to, is either resign or show up Monday.
All right, so let's vote. Roll call vote.
I'm sorry,
Mr.
I'd
Jennifer.
really like for her to read it. I'm sorry, Jennifer.
It's okay, will you repeat?
The motion that we pay our bus drivers
Mhm.
for this week, let them pick up their buses, but they are not required to work 4 hours doing odd jobs around the school system. Now, some of them, I'm sure some of them volunteering to deliver meals, and we want to keep that up. But I'm sure we will not have a problem with that. We just don't need to have them.
Not beyond their job duties.
Odd jobs, yes, yes, ma'am.
All right, got it? Okay, roll call vote.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin? Ms. Buchanan?
No.
Ms. Dillinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Meredith?
Sure.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
So,
Okay,
We paid substitute for not substituting, so I don't know.
that's it.
If somebody got another motion.
All right.
I got one question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Fleener.
I had a lot of phone calls talking about this lunch duty and lunch going on at the schools. And there was a lot of talk. I mean, like I said, we sidestepped and went around and around in circles and through the cow pies and everything over what we're gonna do about lunch. But somebody, mentioned having school buses. We may have put kids on school buses just to social distance. I mean, I hope we've got that down pat now. Do we, because we don't have the duty-free lunch, or the teachers have duty-free lunches. So they won't be eating in the classrooms, we'll be utilizing our cafeterias, correct?
They may be eating in the classrooms, but it'll be anybody but a teacher that'll be monitoring them. It might be a custodian, it might be a maintenance worker, it might be an assistant principal, it might be an instructional assistant,
It's whoever's available.
as long as they're not a teacher by board action. But no, none of the principals are planning on feeding lunch in a bus. They may be doing it outside if the weather's pretty.
yeah,
That'd be
we've
great.
got some nice courtyards. Some of the newer schools have. I hope they utilize those.
I talked to every principal with the exception of Tim Campbell at Boone, and all of them have a plan that does not require teachers to violate their, and I told them that they could not ask them to volunteer either, because that would be illegal. So your wishes, the board's wishes are being followed.
Mr. Irvin.
I need another clarification. If we're gonna make all of our kids wear a mask, then the penalties to the kids that don't wear the mask needs to come from in here, be passed on to the principals. That way it's all the same at all the schools, not this school be different than this school.
I agree.
So whatever this man says as far as mask mandate, that needs to be all over all the schools.
I'm meeting with the principals in 2 days' time, and my plan is to tell them to treat it like any other dress code violation.
Well,
And that makes it uniform,
now,
no pun intended.
I'm gonna say this, and y'all get mad at me, whatever, I don't care, I do care, but I sat here from March till tonight, and everybody sitting in here's got a mask on, except me and Mike. That's, I guess, my whatever. But there was a lot of meetings that we sat through these that nobody had a mask on. And everybody's just fine. But everybody's wearing masks now, so I had to say that because it's.
We think it's rude you didn't wear one tonight,
Well,
but it's okay.
I don't.
We're sitting a lot closer than we have been. We've been 6 feet apart,
And
and we're
then-
not now.
Okay, is there anything else? All right, meeting adjourned.